Now, in order to keep doing what you're doing, you're going to have to spend a certain amount of money.
Right.
At a minimum, people need food and shelter and clothing and, all of these, you need to have a certain amount of expenditure to be able to support yourself as you're doing, all of these things.
Now, do you count those home expenses in your business tracking?
Yes, actually, because, even if you're just working for yourself,
that's true.
People need to be paid. And the thing is, it doesn't matter how much you're doing. You could be producing nothing and people still need to be paid. Right. So that basic level of expenditure is what's called overhead. Okay. And it's not variable. These are the fixed costs that your business incurs just by existing.
Okay.
Okay. And every business has a certain amount of overhead. Okay. It's money that has to be paid.
Right.
And the lower it is, actually, the better.
Right.
The less money that you need on an ongoing basis to, for your business to continue to survive. So low overhead's a really good thing.
Right.
Sometimes if a company is operating on venture capital or borrowed money or, all of these things, sometimes they call it a burn rate. Okay. So you only have let's say you raise $1 million of venture capital and you're going through $100,000 a month.
Okay.
In
That's
overhead.
your burn rate.
That's your burn rate. Okay. And so at that rate, you have 10 months of funding before you're going to have more money. And more money could be sales, more money could be more venture capital, more money could be loans or whatever. But you're converting your financial resources into time. Okay? And the lower your overhead,
right,
the more time you can operate
for that money.
For the same amount of money. Exactly. Now, overhead is why unsubsidized free things don't last very long. Okay? So let's say it's very expensive for you to keep doing what you're doing and you charge nothing for it.
It's not a business.
Well, it's not a business, and you're probably not going to be able to sustain that very long.
Right.
Because you're not going to have the money to do it or to keep doing it. So the lower your overhead, the longer that you can work with, less money or, with a given amount of time, the given amount of money, the more time you can keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because you're not spending it all in other things. Now, we'll talk about some other costs later. There are some costs that are directly related to the production, the value,
right,
the things, creating and delivering what you're creating and delivering. Overhead is not that. These are costs that, kind of think of it like charging, like your rent or your mortgage or your phone payment. Like, regardless of what you do, the bill's going to come.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's very valuable to start to calculate, make a list of all of the things that must be paid every single month, regardless of whether you do anything or not, and tally it up, and that's your overhead. Okay. And the lower you can make that, the better.
Okay.
And overhead is one of the major components in your target monthly revenue.
Right.
Target monthly income.
Exactly. Pay that first to get to sufficiency.
Exactly.
Okay.
So target monthly income is overhead plus your variable costs, which we'll talk about in a minute, plus any sort of amount on top of that in order to compensate for your time and effort. That's sufficiency.
Cool.